Hey everybody, this is Curtis from PSNStores.com. Today we're going to take a look at Wayward Sky. This is out right now on PlayStation VR. It is $20. It's one of the mini launch games. A review of this game should be up at the time that you're watching this. This is a look-and-click adventure game is what they're calling it. So we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to play a little bit into the beginning of the game. So here's kind of the hub here. So these are my two move controllers. You kind of see some of the cool mechanics they've got going on. We can point around, so here is some collectibles we have. I'm just missing one from the first level, so I want to try to go and get that. And then this is apparently a mini game, but I don't have all the collectibles to do it just yet. I do want to check that out. Because you can go in here and we can kind of switch this around, and you see we have all these things, so this guy right here, I'm just missing one. And I think I have to get all of the pieces for at least one of these robots. And I guess there's some sort of mini game going on, but here's my hands. So let's go ahead and we'll do level select. And we'll start at the very beginning of this game. So the story here, you play as Bess. Her and her father are flying one day, and they get shot down. So we're going to see that right in the intro here.
Whoa! You've been hit!
Where did that come from?
Hold it steady, Bess!
Hi, Dad.
Hold it steady!
Hi.
You gotta lower her down easy!
Hold on. I'll land it over there.
Bess, hold it steady! No, we're gonna crash! No! Bess, are you okay?
Dad?
Oh. What is that? Oh! Stay here, Bess. You get away from... Take that! Come on! Oh! No! Bess, go! Run! Go! I'll find you!
Alright, so as you kind of saw in that intro, this is being referred to as a look-and-click adventure game. So what's interesting about this is that, as far as VR is concerned in adventure games, it kind of presents this really interesting ideal, or this in a way it gets me excited for what adventure games in VR could be like. Specifically point-and-click adventure games, and you'll see a little bit of it here. There's some issues I have with this game. Specifically, I think it's a bit too simple. They never get super complex with the puzzles, but we're gonna go ahead and start. So we have kind of two modes here. First is kind of this overview mode where we can see Bess here, and we can point around and we can send her wherever we want her to go. So specifically, there's this thing that if you put the cursor over, it's gonna highlight. So we can send her up here, and when she comes to investigate objects, it enters a first-person mode. So we can kind of look around, and we have our hands here. And so that's when the second move controller actually becomes useful. Typically, I don't really use it except for in a couple of circumstances. I usually stick to my right hand. But that's, pretty general, a very, very simple version of okay, we enter first person, and there's something we can interact with. There's something we can do to maybe progress through the level. Maybe we're stuck and we need to, turn the crank or something, or turn the wheel or whatever. So let's go ahead and go. We notice there's a big crate here that's in our way. We want to get to that door. If you look around, there's some other stuff. There was actually a hidden collectible right there. I guess not really hidden, but... So we can go up here. And now here's just some stuff we can turn here. So weird, I'm actually playing this in a bit more of an enclosed area, so I need to be careful about where I put my move controllers, so I don't hit anything. So now we can go up to this, and this is kind of more where I would maybe, sometimes you'll have sections with like multiple levers and you can use both hands at the same time. But again, very simple. And now our way is clear and we can move forward. Except now there are some robots. So we're gonna want to avoid them. We actually can be, eventually we kind of become friendly with them a little later on in the game. We'll continue forward. So again, this is a very short, this is, I don't know, probably about 3 hours long. In general. There are, I don't know if we'll see any in this. I'm gonna try to look around. There are, kind of 2 versions of collectibles. Every stage has these wind chimes that you can find. There's up to 5 of them. And then there's also, hidden objects you can find that are part of that arcade game I was talking about. Again, I don't really know much about that. I do want to check that out, because there's like a trophy for getting a certain score in the arcade game. So I would like to check that out, see what that's about. We'll see if we can find those. Those are a little bit better. Those are not as obvious if you're not looking for them specifically. Oh, I keep doing the wrong thing. So I'm going to want to have this robot on the elevator when I hit the button. Oh, that works. Okay. I'll wait for him to get off. I figure I'll let Bess climb up and down the ladder a few times to do the exercise. But the cool thing, I guess, about, you know, we'll see if we find one today, but in this video, the kind of collectibles that are the robot parts. What's cool about those is, like, in VR, you got to think about the way the camera works in a game like this. So actually, here's one right here. So, like, it's such a way that we can kind of bend around and, like, kneel down and kind of, like, really get in there and, like, look at things from a different perspective. Oh, there we go. We got that cool robot there. And it makes for an interesting way to hide collectibles. You know, it's like, normally you kind of understand where the camera is going to be in any given instance. But because it's in VR, because it's something that you are entirely controlling, and I could potentially turn all the way around and look in whatever direction I'd like, maybe it kind of would maybe change the way that you would maybe hide certain collectibles, and I think that's kind of interesting. A lot of stuff about this game I really do like. It's surprised me quite a bit. I wasn't really you know, I didn't really know much about this game until I played the demo, and it really kind of caught me off guard, and I was like, okay, this is actually super cool. It's just, it never gets more complicated, I guess. There's a couple instances where you get a few new abilities, some tools that you can use to interact with robots and command them to do different things. So we won't go all the way over here, where those are some wind chimes. And you basically go there, you put the wind chimes together, and then that's your collectible. There's another one over there. And I guess the thing is, I found 4 of 5 wind chimes in this level, so I'll have to see if I can find all of them. So here's another pretty simple puzzle. Again, I guess my one thing is, as cool as this game is, and I do like it quite a bit, this is something that I would, if you have PlayStation VR, I would totally recommend getting it. It is very, very cool. I guess my main issue is that I wish that it just got harder. I wish that the puzzles got a little more complicated. I guess this is the kind of thing with VR, is you get a lot of, like, games that are like, this is really interesting, or it's a really cool concept, but they don't really take it that far. So sometimes they feel more like proof of concepts than anything else, and I think this is maybe a good example of that, where it is super, super cool, and actually it's got a really interesting story. Like, it's a pretty basic story, they don't get too in-depth, but they've got some interesting characters, and it kind of has a little bit of an emotional punch in some circumstances, but as far as the game is concerned and, like, the different puzzles that you find, it's, I do find myself kind of wishing there was a little bit more. Maybe that's the one I'm missing. I'm trying to remember specifically, because I know I got those two. I know I got that one. I'm also looking for these other collectibles. I don't see any. Okay, we'll keep going. Story-wise, what's interesting is, so we got the kind of dynamic for Bess and her father. Father's obviously he's been kidnapped, and so you're kind of like exploring this really mysterious flying fortress that kind of has just emerged from the clouds, and trying to figure out what's going on there. What is that all about? But also there is this element between chapters, where they tell another story about this place specifically, and the robots that inhabit this fortress, and how that kind of came to be. And what's interesting there is it's all told through this kind of cardboard cutout, almost puppet, theatrical kind of performance. I think in the review I mentioned it. It's almost like a pop-up book in a way, and that in and of itself, you know, it's not like we haven't seen other games kind of have artistical styles like that. But what's really cool here is because it's in VR, it does add that extra dimension, and it actually is kind of cool to see play out. I believe there's another thing over here, and I'm pretty sure I've already got it. We'll go ahead and check just to make sure. Yeah. Oh, wait, here's a little thing here. I think in the first level I missed a lot of these because I didn't really know to look out for them. So that's probably why I don't have enough to get at least one of these robots for that arcade thing. Levels are generally pretty short. Again, this is, you know, it's not a super long game. But I think what it lacks in maybe complex puzzles and difficulty, it makes up for it. And one, just a really interesting concept in it, and it gets me, like I said, it gets me very excited for adventure games in VR. Like that's something I never really thought about until I started playing this, and now that it's in my head, it's like, oh, that could actually be super cool. Like there's a lot of interesting things you could do with it. It just takes a game going that far and really, you know, going above and beyond with those kinds of mechanics. So, but you've also got, you know, I think Bess is cool. I actually think like the voice acting in this is pretty good. With one exception, like I think Bess's voice actress, I should say, she does a pretty good job. I really like the sounds and the noises that are made by the robots. We probably won't see a lot of that in this video, but when you start interacting with them, they'll say things, or they'll make these noises where it's like, it's kind of funny. It adds a certain level of it just adds something to the game overall. I think you can kind of hear it there sometimes, like because they keep like falling over and dropping their hats, and they'll just make this random noise. Here's another thing. There we go. And these are just kind of fun to find too. You just gotta be mindful of it. So some of the other things that you do eventually get to do, again, you get an ability to actually control these robots, and so you can, like, from a distance, like from the other side of the room, you can potentially oh, that's no good. Or I guess that's fine. I guess you don't really need to avoid them. I've always tried to for whatever reason. I guess it doesn't matter. But you get to control them, and you can make them like activate different things. Oh, I think I figured it out. I think I know what I'm missing. So I don't think I realized I could go around here, maybe. And so maybe this is the wind chime that I missed. We'll do this either way. That way you can actually see what this is. So it's very simple. You just put these together. Kind of like magnetizes. Was that one it? Oh no, I guess not. I guess I did get this one. I don't know. I'm missing one. Not too sure where. Because we're getting pretty close to the end of this stage. But you also get the ability. There's like zip lines that you can kind of ride across. There's a part where you can like take a water hose and spray enemies with water. which is kind of cool. Stuff like this I really like, though. It's like just being able to... Let's get this going. I really screwed that up. Here we go. A little farther. Here we go. Like, it's not really a puzzle. It's very, very simple. There we go. But I really like it. There's something about going into that first person and having that interaction with your hands. It works super well. Here we go. So I'm only missing one for that guy. Is there any other around here that we can spot that I might have missed? This is basically the end of this stage. I don't see any. They're very, very easy to miss if you're not looking for them. So I know for a fact that I missed quite a few. Because it wasn't until like the third level that I actually started looking. Alright, so we're gonna go in here and... have some fun. Not seeing any secrets. Okay. But again, it's very useful, the way that if you're, as long as you're hovering over an object that you can interact with, the fact that it highlights it is super, super useful. I guess one other thing I do want to say is, like, the sense of scale that you get in this game is super cool in VR. Especially you got like robots like this robot's kind of big, but there is another robot later on that is just huge. And when you meet him and interact with him, it's such a cool thing. But also this fortress is huge, and later on you'll get into places where you can look down and see just everywhere you've been before, all below you. It's just such a huge kind of city in the sky, and it's really interesting to be able to see. So we'll go ahead and watch this. This is the story bits I was talking about earlier. Kind of the pop-up book-esque stuff.
Below, forgotten among the clouds, was a mysterious place called Icarus. This flying fortress was home to a very unique family. A sizable home by any measure, built by its architect, Cornell. Cornell had created many great things in his lifetime, but nothing made him prouder than his family. The eldest son, Merc, responsible for most of the heavy lifting. Hubert, the quiet one, who tends to the gardens. Zadie, the mender and peacekeeper. Windjammer, the messenger and facilitator. And the youngest member of the family, Thaddeus.
So that is your look at Wayward Sky. Again, those story moments are super cool to me. We can also go down here to this desk and we can kind of do some fun little stuff here if we want. Gonna put this robot together. If oh, all right. I don't know where this goes. There we go. Get into our rooster cam. What else do we got? We got a ball. We can We can throw a plane. Goes flying off in the distance. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Again, you know, I do kind of wish that maybe the puzzles would get a little bit harder, a little bit more complex. But for what it is, it's really interesting. It's gives me a lot of hope for adventure games in VR. I think there's some really cool stuff that could potentially happen. This game also, like Waddle Home, actually is something which another PlayStation VR game. Is something that's like, it's pretty cool. It's very simple. It's not super difficult, even though I wish it maybe got a little bit more difficult. But they're both puzzle games that present some interesting potential for VR, and it has me excited for what future games could potentially do. But either way, so this is $20 right now. I would totally, I recommend it. This looks something that might be up your alley. You should definitely check it out. It's super cool. It's not, it might not blow you away or anything, but I think it's got a pretty simple and interesting story. It kind of has some emotional moments here and there, but it's also kind of uplifting in some ways. And then just as a puzzle game, as a kind of look and click adventure game, it is really interesting. It's got some cool stuff going for it. So I am Curtis from PSN Stores. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time.